In history, there were kings, generals, and monsters with human names, but some needed no armies to inspire fear. They were war itself. They were the end. They fought on the front lines, bled with honor, and killed with fury. They left more than scars. They left a shadow, one that time still dares not erase.
This is the Immortals, where legends never die. Subscribe and take your place in the ranks of legends.
Fear has many forms. Some dress it in numbers, weapons, empires. But in certain times fear had a name, and he walked, he breathed, he killed with his own hands. They were not commanders hiding in the rear. They were not myths. They were men, flesh, bone, and steel. Real warriors. Feared not for how many they led, but for how many fell before them. Some fought for glory, others out of hatred, but all of them left a shadow that, even centuries later, still reaches us. This is their story, and this is their legend. They are the 10 most feared warriors in history. Position number 10, Subotai, the ghost general of the Mongols. While Europe slept safely behind its walls, a name was whispered across the eastern steppes, an omen of death. Subotai, the deadliest of Genghis Khan's generals. Born in Mongolia in 1176, this master strategist transformed an empire of horsemen into an unstoppable war machine. Subotai was neither an emperor nor a king, yet his campaigns decided the fate of entire nations. Under his command, Mongol forces crossed frozen rivers, deserts, and mountains, crushing China, Persia, Russia, Poland, and Hungary within a single generation. He led more than 20 major military campaigns, conquering more territory than any general of his age. He was the genius behind the Mongol terror. While his enemies believed the Mongols were retreating, he lured them into deadly ambushes. In 1241, he divided his army across multiple fronts and annihilated the European knights at Liegnitz and the Hungarians at Mohi, all within a single week. Christendom stood on the brink of collapse. He was invisible as the wind, deadly as the storm. His weapon was not only the bow, but the mind. Subotai was not seeking glory, only strategic destruction. And wherever he went, nothing remained. Position number 9, Babur, the tiger of the empire. Born among mountains and blood, Zahiruddin Muhammad Babur inherited a kingdom, and from the age of 12, a war. His lineage descended from Tamerlane on one side and Genghis Khan on the other, an explosive mixture. In 1483, in the Fergana Valley, present-day Uzbekistan, the warrior who would set South Asia ablaze with steel and gunpowder was born. Babur was no comfortable throne emperor. He spent his youth fighting not to lose his homeland, and he lost it. But instead of surrendering, he crossed the mountains of the Hindu Kush with a small, hungry army, ready for anything. He descended into the heart of India and faced armies 10 times larger. At the Battle of Panipat, 1526, with fewer than 15,000 men, he defeated an army of more than 100,000. How? With gunpowder, strategy, and fury. He introduced muskets and mobile artillery, forever changing the way war was waged in the subcontinent. He founded the Mughal Empire, which would endure for more than 3 centuries. He never stopped writing, riding, or leading from the front. He died young, but left behind a legacy carved by the sword. Babur did not conquer lands. He conquered fear itself. Position number 8, Spartacus, the slave who made Rome tremble. Rome had many enemies, but none challenged it from within with as much fury as he did. Spartacus, born in Thrace around 103 BC, was a soldier, then a slave, and finally, a legend. Trained as a gladiator in Capua, he refused to die for spectacle. He wasn't going to entertain the empire. He was going to confront it. In 73 BC, he escaped with other gladiators armed only with knives, and the unthinkable happened. They began to win. Spartacus led a rebellion that grew to more than 100,000 slaves. He defeated Roman legions and humiliated their generals. He was not an uncontrolled barbarian. He was a tactical leader who outwitted the most powerful army on earth. For 2 years, terror swept through Italy. The Senate trembled, not because of foreign invaders, but because a slave had shown that Rome could bleed. Spartacus did not seek power, only freedom or a dignified death. He found it fighting to the end, facing Crassus. His body was never found, but his shadow remained throughout history. Spartacus did not want a throne. He wanted to break chains, and his fury still reverberates in the foundations of the empire. Position number 7, Rodrigo Díaz de Vivar, the Lord of War. Born in Castile in 1043, Rodrigo Díaz, known as El Cid Campeador, was a warrior who crossed the boundaries of loyalty and war to become a legend. In the midst of the Reconquista, he fought for both Christian and Muslim kings, demonstrating exceptional skill on the battlefield and an indomitable spirit. His name inspired both fear and respect. He was banished and betrayed, but never subdued. In 1094, he captured Valencia and defended it with fierce tenacity for 5 years, resisting sieges and fighting with unwavering courage. He died in 1099, undefeated and unbroken. His final legacy was forged on the battlefield and in legend, which claims his body was mounted on his faithful horse Babieca for one last victorious charge. His campaigns combined cunning, valor, and a code of honor that transcended centuries and borders. In an age of constant chaos and war, El Cid was the embodiment of the perfect warrior, brave, intelligent, loyal, and feared by both enemies and allies alike. His legend crossed borders, inspiring epics and generations to this day. El Cid was not only fighting for land, he was fighting for his name, and that name still echoes through history. Position number 6, Bjorn Ironside, the Viking who made empires tremble. In the frozen lands of the north, where men are born with thunder in their blood and steel in their hands, one of the most feared warriors of the 9th century emerged, Bjorn Ironside. According to the sagas, he was the son of the legendary Ragnar Lothbrok. Born in the wild regions of what we now know as Norway or Sweden, this Viking warlord carried war to places where the terror of the north had never reached before. Aboard his drakars, Bjorn sailed the seas of Europe as if they were rivers of his own. He sacked England, ravaged the coasts of France and Spain, laid waste to cities in North Africa, and finally set his sights on Italy. In 859, he led an expedition as brutal as it was legendary. He faked his own death to enter the fortified city of Luna, which many believed to be Rome, hiding his warriors within a funeral procession. When the gates opened, the city burned. He wasn't just a plunderer. He was a cunning strategist, a fierce warrior, a born leader. They called him Ironside because he seemed invulnerable, immortal, unstoppable, and while others sought kingdoms, he left ashes. Bjorn didn't cross seas. He conquered them. Position number 5. Miyamoto Musashi, the samurai who mastered death. In chaotic Japan, where clans devoured each other for power, a warrior like no other emerged. Miyamoto Musashi, born in 1584 in Harima province, was more than a samurai. He was a demon of combat, a storm with a sword. From the age of 13, he fought in duels to the death and never lost. He took part in real battles during the Sengoku period, such as the legendary Battle of Sekigahara in 1600, where the fate of feudal Japan was decided amid mud, gunpowder, and steel. But his legend grew not only in war, but in the art of dueling. He faced more than 60 opponents, many of them renowned masters, and defeated them all. Musashi pioneered the two-sword style, a katana in each hand, moving like an unstoppable whirlwind. His technique was brutal, direct, stripped of empty honor. He fought to survive and to perfect himself. At the end of his life, he wrote the famous treatise The Book of Five Rings, revealing the secrets of combat and the philosophy of the absolute warrior. He died as he lived, invincible. Musashi did not seek to defeat the enemy. He sought to conquer death itself. Position number 4. Pyrrhus of Epirus, the Greek ghost who made Rome bleed. Before Rome became invincible, it faced the edge of a threat that came not from the north or the east, but from the very cradle of heroes, Greece. Pyrrhus of Epirus was born there in 319 BC, a Hellenistic king raised amid intrigues, exiles, and wars. But on the battlefield, he was unstoppable. Ambitious and feared, he crossed the Adriatic Sea to defend the Greeks of Magna Graecia against Roman expansion. In 280 BC, he landed in Italy at the head of a disciplined army, accompanied by war elephants, an apocalyptic vision for the Romans, who had never seen such beasts before. He defeated them at Heraclea and again at Asculum, inflicting massive casualties, but suffering terrible losses himself. Even so, he was respected, even admired, by his enemies. Hannibal himself is said to have considered him one of the greatest generals of all time, alongside Scipio and Alexander. The cost of his victories was so devastating that his name gave birth to an eternal phrase, the Pyrrhic victory. Pyrrhus sought not just territory, but immortal glory, like Achilles. And with every charge, every ambush, every stare into death's eyes, he drew closer to her. Pyrrhus did not merely win. He made even victory feel like defeat. Position number 3, Hannibal Barca, the scourge of Rome. When Rome was still young, there was a name that made it tremble within its very walls. Hannibal Barca, born in Carthage, in present-day Tunisia, in 247 BC, he swore eternal hatred toward Rome from childhood. His father, Hamilcar, made him vow before the gods that he would dedicate his life to destroying the eternal enemy of the Punic world. And so he did. During the Second Punic War, Hannibal accomplished one of the most astonishing military feats in history. He crossed the Alps with an army and 37 war elephants, a feat many believed impossible. Deep in enemy territory, with no reinforcements and vastly outnumbered, he crushed the Romans in battle after battle. The most brutal came at Cannae in 216 BC, where he encircled and annihilated more than 50,000 Roman soldiers in a single day. No general before or since has achieved anything comparable. Rome took generations to recover from the trauma. His name inspired terror. Roman mothers would warn their children, "If you disobey, Hannibal will come." He was a master strategist, an inspiring leader, and a relentless scourge. Even when Carthage abandoned him, he kept fighting to the very end. Hannibal didn't just cross mountains, he crossed the boundary of human fear. Position number 2, Leonidas I, the king who died, standing and became immortal. Not all kings rule from a throne. Some reign with a sword in hand until their last breath. Such was Leonidas I, king of Sparta, born around 540 BC. A descendant of Heracles, and forged through the most brutal education of the ancient world, the Agog. In 480 BC, the Persian Empire invaded Greece with overwhelming force. While many fled or hesitated, Leonidas advanced, with only 300 Spartan hoplites and a few thousand Greek allies, determined to hold the narrow pass at Thermopylae. He was not seeking victory, he was buying time. 3 days were enough to mark eternity. In the narrow mountain pass, he halted thousands. He fought as a king, yes, but also as a soldier, surrounded, betrayed by Ephialtes, and with his men falling one by one, Leonidas chose to die beside them, facing death head-on, helmet on, spear unbroken. His body was pierced, but his name never bowed. What he defended was not only Sparta, but the pure courage of those who fight without surrender. His remains were returned to his homeland decades later, but his spirit never left the battlefield. Leonidas did not fight to survive. He fought to prove that there are deaths worth 1,000 lives. Position number 1, Alexander the Great, the man who conquered the world. No name carries more weight in military history than his. Alexander III of Macedon, known to the world as Alexander the Great, was born in Macedonia in 356 BC. Son of King Philip II and disciple of Aristotle. He was educated to rule, but lived to conquer. At the age of 20, he inherited a kingdom and an army. By 30, He had forged the largest empire the world had ever seen, from Greece to India. He was never just a commander. He fought on the front lines, sword in hand, bleeding alongside his men, shouting orders as he crossed rivers, deserts, and impossible mountain ranges. He crushed armies far greater than his own. He defeated Darius III of Persia in epic battles such as Issus and Gaugamela, took Babylon, founded Alexandria, and was proclaimed Pharaoh of Egypt. In every land he touched, he left not only ruin, but culture, fusion, and legacy. He could have been a king. He chose to become a legend. He died young, only 32, after conquering more than 20 nations. Some say he was poisoned, others that he was consumed by his own ambition, but his name, that never died. Alexander did not conquer lands. He conquered eternity. Empires have fallen, but these names still ride among ruins and ashes, because true warriors don't disappear. They merge with the steel of history. If this story ignited your blood, if you felt the roar in your chest, then you are already part of our legion. Like it, if the legacy must live on, comment, and tell us which warrior deserves a place among the immortals. And subscribe, because here begins your battle for memory. This is The Immortals, where legends never die.